Hello everyone! If you're struggling with nail extensions, learning to work with molds, or simply want to improve your skills in reverse French, then this video is specially made for you. Based on my experience and practice, I've gathered the most useful information for you and will guide you step by step through the secrets of each stage. I'll also show you how to avoid common mistakes when working with dual forms. Let's get started. The fundamental mistake is incorrect chemical nail preparation before applying the coat. This is crucial because without proper preparation, no coating will adhere properly. It all starts with degreasing the nails. The degreaser should be of high quality and without moisturizing components. You can test the performance of the degreaser by simply applying it to the skin around the nail. It should evaporate quickly and leave behind a white residue, indicating that it properly dries and degreases the nail plate. If the hands are wet, usually the nails retain excess moisture as well. Therefore, we apply a dehydrator to the nail plate to remove moisture, followed by Ultra Bond. This product creates a sticky layer on the nail plate, ensuring strong adhesion between the base and the nail. It works like double-sided tape. Another common mistake is choosing the wrong base coat. For nail extensions, it's necessary to use an acid base to ensure good adhesion of the material. I recommend using a medium viscosity base coat. It quickly penetrates between the nail scales, creating a reliable foundation for the hard material. Since the base is acidic, it should be applied in a thin layer to avoid harming the nails and prevent chemical burns. Carefully apply the base coat over the entire nail, then cure it in the lamp for 1 minute. It's important for the base to be flexible. Such bases are labeled as rubber base. It should contain rubber in its composition so that it can conform to all the curves of the nail plate and prevent lifting. Today, we are going to create a modern almond shape, also known as a Gothic almond, so I'll be working with these forms. My apex is already formed. The apex is the highest point on the nail and it's our stress zone. These forms allow you to create a ready-made nail shape without the need for additional filing. Additionally, these forms have a beautifully pronounced arch which looks absolutely stunning. How do you correctly choose a form that fits your nail? Take the form and apply it to the nail plate. The form should sit on the nail without pressure, and the growth points should be covered by the form, meaning the form should continue the shape of your natural nail so that no steps are formed. If you see that on one side, everything is fine, but on the other side the form is already touching the finger, then take a smaller form and try again. You can see that this form already fits perfectly on the nail. It sits freely without any pressure and covers the growth points perfectly, which means it's suitable for us. And according to this principle, we should choose for each nail. Now, about molds. These are silicone inserts that make it easier for beginners to create a reverse French. I have a set of these molds for creating the French base and the reverse French. In the previous video, I showed how to make the French first and then the base. But today we will do the opposite. The molds and forms I have are from the same brand, so I match them size by size. There is a number on the form and I choose the corresponding mold based on it. Next, we secure the mold in the form. We need any thick transparent material such as a base, gel, gel or gel jelly. The main thing is for the material to be viscous and transparent. I use Builder Gel from the Gamma brand. We apply the gel in a medium layer to the form to prevent it from being too dry, ensuring that the mold is securely fixed in the form and does not slip. I've seen some girls use tweezers to hold the mold in place during drying because it tends to slip. Therefore, I want to emphasize again that the material you use to attach the mold should be thick. Next, we take the mold, fold it in half, and install it in the form. Our task at this moment is to set the mold so that the French line is straight. For self-checking, we flip the form and then we can see how our base will look. In the previous video, we oriented ourselves using the French smile lines, but here we'll ignore those and focus solely on the base to ensure it's symmetrical and even, because we're creating the base first and then the smile line. It's okay if there is a gap between the mold and the form along the parallel line. Don't worry, we will apply gel there later and everything will even out, resulting in a perfect nail. After fixing the mold in the form, we cure it in the lamp for 30 seconds and then move on to applying the material. I have a dense polygel from DNA brand in a delicate pink shade, which is very finely grained, and that's fantastic because the finer the acrylic particles in the gel, the easier the work will be. The molds have already dried and we can continue working. I scoop up the material and distribute it. Now, we will work in 2 stages. In the first stage, we take the material and spread it over the mold in a thin layer with a gap from the beginning of the form. In simpler terms, we pull all the material closer to the center while covering the side parallels on the sides. At this point, we are not attaching the forms to the nail but curing the form with polygel. This serves as a guarantee that when we attach them to the nail, there will be no voids or material shortages at the growth points because we already have a thin layer of cured polygel. This is a great hack for beginners and those who do their own manicures. Move on to the second stage. We take less material this time because now we only need to attach the form to the nail. We level it to the middle and attach it at a 45-degree angle, gradually lowering the form to prevent the nail from lifting and to avoid air pockets. We dry it with a UV lamp and then put it in the lamp for complete drying. Then we can remove the form. Here you can see the correct architecture of the nail, all thanks to the dual forms and the proper installation. The lower parallel smoothly rises upward as it should be. If desired, it can be further raised using a file. In the first stage, a common mistake is not removing the material from the area where the form adheres near the cuticle. The polygel in this area needs to be completely removed, otherwise it will polymerize, and in the next stage, it will not be possible to press the form tightly, resulting in a high step near the cuticle. As for removing those small particles that remain in delicate areas, this can easily be done with a file or an e-file, but I recommend using an e-file because with the bit you can reach even the most inaccessible areas without traumatizing the skin. Additionally, you can use the e-file to adjust the edge of the base to give it more definition. Sometimes there are nuances where we may have overlooked something and the form shifted sideways, resulting in an uneven base. This is where the advantage of this extension method comes into play. Even after polymerization at this stage, we can still correct it with a file, including the length. After removing any excess, brush away the dust and if needed, go over the surface with the file. At this stage, you can make the base sharper or more rounded. It's very easy to ruin everything with improper use of the file. Angle the file, never lead it parallel to the nail, otherwise we'll simply file away the edge where our smile lines should end and we won't achieve a clear, beautiful boundary. Here I will show you the mistake I made in placing the form which resulted in these air pockets I mentioned earlier. If this has already happened, how can we fix it? If this happens, you need to remove them with an e-file or file to avoid lifting, and you can fix them using liquid polygel, also known as bottle gel or liquid gel. Choose a color similar to the base color and apply the gel to the areas with gaps, and voila, no one will notice. This life hack I already showed in the previous video, but many still didn't understand what goes where. I hope today I was able to better explain to you why we did this and how easy it is to fix the mistake. The next mistake lies in drawing the smile line, or rather its sharpness. I will be using black gel polish from Luna and I have chosen a brush with a 9mm bristle. At first glance, there seems to be nothing complicated here. Everything looks very easy. Indeed, there is no difficulty in the actual drawing, but the challenge lies in the sharpness of the line. My advice to you is, when you have already drawn all the nails and dried them, do the filing at this stage. It will be easier to remove any gel polish that went onto the nail surface now, because once we add the smile line detail, there will be a layer of gel on top, making it difficult to reach and correct the line, and it won't be even. Moving on to the French manicure itself, I apply the forms to the nail and mark the point where the base will end. This is necessary so that I can orient myself on the length at which to attach the decoration. By using this reference point, you can determine the expected length and set guidelines to ensure that the nails are of the correct length. This helps prevent situations where, for example, the pinky ends up being the longest, as sometimes happens. So it's worth measuring this before attaching the form. Moving on to the most exciting stage of the work, applying the decorations. I'm using green shells with black veins. I've noticed that this type of decoration is currently popular and looks beautiful as it reflects the sunlight. Of course, no French manicure is complete without gold, and it certainly won't spoil the design. But the main component for me will be black stained glass builder gel. Have you ever seen anything like it? It's a hard, thick gel suitable for extensions using both dual and paper forms, and a French manicure looks especially beautiful with it. And so, we begin to work wonders. First of all, we need to coat the form with clear gel to set our decoration. Why clear gel and not stained glass gel? Stained glass gel already contains pigment, which can affect the shade of the decoration, but clear gel won't have this effect, and that's what we need. We place our decoration. Here's an important point. If you want the shells to stand out more, place them first. So I attach the shells first and then the rest of the decoration. I've broken the shells into different pieces, both large and small, to make it easier to distribute and place them in the form. Next, I remembered that I have some green colored glitter and decided to diversify the design with them. I was amazed at how they complemented the entire picture, so don't be afraid to experiment. Everything you try for the first time adds experience and confidence to you. And at the very end, I add our gold and distribute it in a chaotic manner. Here, there's no need to idealize, just free your imagination and create. I don't dry any of this. Instead, I immediately pour stained glass gel over it and distribute it with a fine brush. Here, the most common mistake is using an insufficient amount of material on the side walls. As a result, they become very fragile and prone to breaking. It's also important to ensure that there is enough gel to adhere precisely in the area where the side walls should be. Let there be more gel there than its absence. After distributing the gel, flip the form and check for any empty areas. Now, we adhere it to the nail. With smooth movements, we connect our base with the French tip and cure it with a UV lamp. Then, we flip the finger and use a brush to push the material into place. Another very common mistake is not checking what's happening underneath the nail. Therefore, it's essential to flip the finger and correct anything we don't like. Pay particular attention to the side walls of the French tip to ensure there is enough material there. After that, cure it in the lamp for a minute or so and remove the form. Repeat the same process with the other nails. I absolutely love the reverse French in these aquarium-inspired interpretations because each nail is like a painting, always unique, and you could stare at each one forever. And you can add absolutely anything you want inside. You're not limited in any way here. The next mistake concerns removing the form. When all the nails are done and cured, don't remove the form immediately. Allow the material to cool down and set its shape. It's the same principle as when curling hair into curls. After removing the forms, remove the dispersion and do the final filing. First, I align the parallel edges, and then I adjust the nail length. If needed, you can also go over the surface with a file to even it out. When filing the surface, it's important to keep the file level to avoid any arching motions, as this can easily ruin the nail's shape and architecture. We compare the length. The index and ring fingers should be the same length, the middle finger slightly longer. the thumb the longest, and the pinky the shortest. To avoid a step on the inside of the nail when extending on dual forms, leave a few millimeters natural nail length. Do not remove it completely, as it will be easier for you to level the material on the inside when working with polygel. But if a ledge does form, it will be easier to file it down using thin sharp E-file bits, which are better suited for shaping the arch. Next, thoroughly remove any dust and apply a top coat. I am using a glossy top coat from the Edlin brand, which is currently my favorite. It holds the shine beautifully, it doesn't contain any UV filters or have a sticky dispersion layer. Apply it in a medium layer and cure it in the lamp for 2 minutes. We also cover the inner side with the top coat to avoid material contamination. This will also add more transparency to our tips. We conclude our creation with spa procedures, remembering to thoroughly moisturize the cuticles to prevent them from drying out. I use dry cuticle oil that leaves no greasy residue, applying it directly to the cuticles. For an even greater effect, you can use a cuticle buffer. And here are our beauties. I believe this video has dispelled all your fears and doubts, and with this knowledge, you'll definitely want to try something similar. I'm confident you'll succeed in creating amazing nail extensions as well. I also highly recommend watching my other 2 tutorials, the stained glass French and the tutorial on molds. You can see them on the screen now. Thank you very much for watching. This was Anna. Until next time, beauties. Bye bye!